Hey buddy, so have you ever created a message in Azure Service Bus which can send to the receiver later stage or after 1 hour, after 2 days, after 1 month, any specific date and time? So normally when you work with Azure Service Bus and function, Azure Function, you send the message to Azure Service Bus, your Azure Function, which is working as a receiver, that will use that message, consume that message instantly. But what if you wanted to hold that message? You don't want to send that message instantly to your Azure function, right? So there is something called message sequencing. So with the help of message sequencing concept, you can schedule your message at any specific date and time. So let's go into the code part. I will explore Azure portal and then Visual Studio, right? And we will see how we can schedule a message at any specific date and time. So let's jump into the code. Okay, so here we are in the implementation part now. So today we are going to use two solutions, two different applications. This is my Azure function. So we would use this Azure function as a receiver, right? And then there is a sender as well, which is my console application, right? So this application we are going to use for sending a message to Azure Service Bus, right? So first, let's do first thing first. We will set up our Azure function. Okay, now to create Azure function, right, what I have to do here, just say right click, right, and say add and new Azure function, right? So you can add any name. Over here we will use just a default name, which is function1, and once you click on add, over here it will ask you what kind of function you need, right? Since we are dealing with Azure Service Bus, so we have two different functions here. One is Service Bus queue trigger, second should be Service Bus topic trigger, right? So there are different types of trigger, topic and queue, right? So if you wanted me to create a separate video on topic and queue, I will create that, just comment down, right? But for this video, let's just focus on message sequencing, message schedule or scheduler message, right? So okay, we will create a Service Bus queue trigger today, and over here when you select, it will ask you for connection setting name, right? The connection string of a Azure Service Bus where you wanted to attach, and then queue name, right? So since you are dealing with a queue trigger, so you have to provide the queue name so it knows where to send the message and from where to receive the message, right? So either you can add now, but if you don't know, you just leave it as it is, right? And click on add. So once you add, you see you have that function one, you have queue name because you just choose the default one, and you have connection empty, right? So this is your default. Okay, now since I don't need, because I already have a function, so I will just delete it, right? Let me delete it and I will go back to my original function. Okay, now here, this is your queue name, right? So we just saw. So I need now queue. So what I will do here, I will go to Azure portal, over here, I'm already in Azure Service Bus, right? And there should be option called entities, right? You see there are two types of entities that Azure Service provide. One is queue, second is topic. So I need my queue, and I already have created one queue, which is a test. If you don't have, just click on plus queue and just create one queue. My queue name is test, so I will go back to Visual Studio and let's add test here. Let's add test here. Okay, now the second thing, it need a connection string. Okay, for this, what I will do, I will go to my Solution Explorer. I have my local setting.json file. Over here, I have one connection string name that I have already given, right? Azure Web Job My Service Bus, or you can put any name, right? So what you can do, let's say this is Service Bus, Service Bus, and let's say connection string, connection string. So it could be any name, right? As per your practice, whatever practice that you are following in your code, use that naming convention. So let's make S capital. Okay, so now this is my connection string. Now I have to add the value here. So what I need to do, go back to Azure portal. In Azure portal, there is something called settings. there's something called shared access policies. In the shared access policies, you can create your own connection string. Put your policy name, that would be your name of that policy, the shared access policies, and add the access, right? On the safer side, I'm adding manage, so I can send and receive both, right, from the same key. If you have some specific access that you just wanted to listen, you don't want to send the message, then use listen. And if you just wanted to send the message through that connection string, then use send, right? But in my case, I will say I need every access and then click on create, right? But let's say I already have one, right? So I have already one, so I will use the same. Let's add here. I should have something called a primary connection string. Just a matter of few seconds. Yes, I have now. Copy the connection string. This is the connection string that we need to provide to our Azure function, right? So once you provide this connection string to Azure function here, this here, it will get connected to your Azure Service Bus, right? So I missed the double code. So let's add here. Okay, now this is good, right? This is happy now. Okay, so we have already added this. Now what we need to do, copy this service connection string. We have to provide the same name here, right? So you don't have to, write down all those logic, say go to app setting, then read all those values, or local setting, or read those values. No, Azure function knows whatever key you provide here, it will go to local settings file and it will read that values by itself. You don't need to write extra code, right? So now we are able to make a connection with Service Bus and the queue test. Let's just make sure it is working fine. Let's put a breakpoint. Go to now to send a message. What we need to do? Go to there should be something called entities, queues, and we have to jump into a queue, right? So let's jump into, go inside test. This is my queue name. They should be called something Service Bus Explorer, right? Now let's just test, if my connection and all are working fine or not. So I will send one message. Just I will say, hey, test 1 and click on send. Okay, now when I'm sending a message, let's see how it works. So I should have it is not working actually, so what I need to do, I have to execute it first, and we have to repeat the same step. So let's run it. Okay, it is working fine, I guess. No, let's wait. Okay, so Azure function is up and listening, right? So now let's repeat the same step. I will say send message, I will say test, and I will say hey ... and send message. So my function should receive this right away, and let's see if it works or not. I got the breakpoint here, you see? Yeah. And okay, you see test ... right? That means I have received the message, right? My Azure function has received the message from that Azure Service Bus. That means connections are working fine. Now let's process this. Now important thing, over here, let's refresh. The important thing is, when you are sending a message, let me send it again. I won't send. Over here in the broker property, there is something called set schedule and queue time, right? From here, you can schedule any time when you wanted to send that message to queue, right? That means you are scheduling a message from here, right? So this is a property you can set. So this is one of the option you can do directly from Azure Service Bus, but normally, when you work in real time, you always have to schedule this message through a code, right? You send that message to Azure Service Bus at the same time you wanted to schedule. How you can do that, right? So let's cancel this. Let's go to our other application, which is console application. Over here there are 5 steps required to send the message, right? So in the step 1, what we will do, we will initialize the Service Bus connection. So what we have to do, this is a Service Bus client that we need, but make sure to use Service Bus client, there should be a namespace called azure.messaging.servicebus. And what you need, you have to install this package, which is azure.messaging.servicebus, right? So this package you required to interact with Azure Service Bus. Okay, now let's initialize the first step. The first step is Service Bus connection, right? So let's say this is my Service Bus client, right? And let's say client, right? and initialize with new object. Say, hey, my bad, I think my hands are too fast. Okay, service bus client, and it should demand for a connection string, right? So I have to provide the connection string now. So what I will do, I will do the same thing, right? So I will copy my connection string from a function, and this is my connection string. Copy it, go to other app and paste it here. In your code, don't add directly this connection string, put it somewhere in config file, right? But let's, for a POC purpose, I have added here. Now, second step, my connection is done. Create a message that we can send to service bus message, right? So what we'll do here, we will say, hey, service bus message class, I need, this is my message, right? And new service bus message. What message I need to send? Let's say star hello Azure, how are you doing, right? So in real time you would require a JSON format message, right? So you can over here define some JSON and paste that JSON here, right? The same JSON here. So just to understand the concept, I'm sending a simple message. Okay, now the third step is schedule the message, right? So it could be anytime, right? So it could be anytime. Okay, now let's say the step 3. You know what? We do not need step 3. Step 3 can be merged with step 5. So technically we don't need step 3. Let's make this as step 3 and this as a step 4, right? So let's just remove some empty spaces. Okay, on step 3, initialize, right? What with the queue name? We have to initialize a sender object. Okay, so this is my service bus client and we have to create a sender here. So in our case over here, we have just name called client, and let's see what it demands. So I will say, hey, and it need a queue or topic name. So we know our queue name is just a test, right? So my client is ready with a queue name as well. Now store it inside, and let's say this is my sender, right? So this sender will help us to send the message, right? So we have provided sender everything. We have provided the connection to the client class. We have provided the queue name to sender. Now it knows, hey, send a message to this queue using this connection string to this Azure Service Bus, right? The final step, the fourth step, to send a message. So what do we have to do? This is my sender, right? I will say sender dot send message async, right? Or you know what? We don't need send message async. We have to schedule the message, right? So the property that we saw here while sending a message, which is broker properties and set schedule enqueue time, where you have to pass the date and time. Same thing we have to provide here. So for that we have to use a message called schedule message async. See, not the send message. Okay, over here provide the message, right? So what message we have? We have called message, and then we have to provide the time when you wanted to schedule it. You can provide any time, but for just for this understanding, what we will do, we will add after 1 minute, and I will just fast forward the video, right? So let's say date time, let's say add minutes, right? So we have add minutes, and let's say 1 minute. Come on, we will say add 1 minute, right? And you know what, let's say await here, and let's look for response. Okay, so what it will do, it will send a message to this Azure Service Bus, to this test, this message, and add 1 minute of schedule, right? Now I will show you how it actually works. Let me put a breakpoint. I'm going to send a message which is hello Azure. Now I have just run this application. It is running. Okay, it is running. Let's see. Okay, I have the breakpoint here. Come on, continue. And I have the breakpoint here. Let's just go one step, right? So if I go one step ahead, I should have something called, right now if you look at my date and time, I have this 7:41, right? And the date and time, come on. Okay, message is already sent, I guess. Okay, now I have the response. Okay, I got the response, which is 19. That means response is successful. Okay, over here, in here, if I go to my queue, come on somewhere, not here, go to queue. I think I'm already there, right? So overview in my test, right? You should have something called schedule, right? So I should have option called 1 here. The number should be displayed. You see, there is no active message in queue. There is only one schedule message. Before, this should be 0 if there was no schedule message. Since I have added, this code in my sender, which is add 1 minute, my code has already executed. For that 1 minute, I have something called Schedulae Message. Okay, now looks like that time got, triggered. I have got that message back to my receiver, which is my Azure function, and let's see the message. Oh, see, hello Azure, how are you doing, right? So whenever that date time met, it has scheduled that message, it has executed that message, right? And see, same message. Okay, now let's just receive this message and you will see something interesting. Continue. Okay, message has been read. Over here, now schedule message is currently 1, which is already processed. I have not refreshed the page. If I refresh the page, it should be 0. So let's refresh it. I don't have anything to schedule now. It's working. Okay, it's loading. So let's just wait few milliseconds more. Here you see, we have 0 scheduled message, right? So what I can do here, just to understand this concept, I will make it more like 2 minutes, right? And I will, I will just send 2 back-to-back message, and then I will show you. One message has been sent, then I will send, second message. It is sending message now. Here you go. I have sent second message as well, right? In Azure Service Bus, if I refresh, come on, I take some time. You see, one message, come on. I sent 2 message, come on. Okay, it has been sent now. The second message just sent now. I will refresh. I should have 2 messages as a scheduled. Come on, here you go. The 2 scheduled message, right? This will give you idea how many messages are scheduled and how many messages are active, right? So using this property, right, and queue time, you can schedule message anytime at any specific date and time, right? And this is my sender code, right? What I will do, this code would be available in the comment section. You can use this feature of Azure Service Bus to schedule, to create scheduler, the scheduler that you were creating before using task scheduler, Windows task scheduler, or time trigger. Now you can use Azure Service Bus if you're working with Azure Service Bus, this property that you can schedule the message for later time at any date and time. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this concept. Okay, that's all for today's video. I will see you in the next video.